Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is the Sports Counterpoints podcast. Today is February the 6th, 2024. I'm GB. I got Brian and Coop with me, as always. What's going on, guys? We back at it.
What's going on?
Man, chilling. Super Bowl week officially. Pro Bowl weekend is gone. Man, just barn burning excitement. Things to watch
the
there.
Pro
That was
Bowl?
fabulous.
Yeah.
Man, fantastic. So that happened, and then we got Super Bowl, man. So we're gonna talk MVP, Coach of the Year first. Just kind of get y'all's thoughts on who that should be. I know Coop has Lamar Jackson. We're gonna go to talk about the Super Bowl, of course. It's Super Bowl week. Coop's team made it. Our teams are at the crib.
Really?
My team is there, actually. My team is very much represented. I'll put it like that, but not in the game. And then we'll talk about some sports betting and its impacts on the Super Bowl. I was very curious to get your points, Coop, with Peerless One and what you do with your company, but also, you guys both. We talk about the lines, we talk about the impacts, and with the game being in Las Vegas, just wanted to kind of see what you guys, what your kind of thoughts are, with everybody's going to be there. So let's start with MVP and Coach of the Year, man. I mean, we can read out the nominees. I think.
Well, Brian probably has his own list. I know I got mine. You got your own top three, and who you think should win, Brian?
Whether you mean who I think will win or who's? I mean, I already told you who's gonna win.
Who's gonna win?
I've been telling you for a while. Lamar Jackson is gonna win.
I thought you were talking about Coach of the Year. Oh, my bad.
No. Start
MVP.
MVP.
Okay.
You got Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, tough. Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy. Those are the finalists.
So it's the three-person race then, because Dak ain't in it. So yeah, okay.
Well, he's actually the number 2 in odds. He's number 2. I agree with you. He's not winning it.
Nor Allen.
And I do hope that while there's no chance he will win it, I hope that McCaffrey, gets enough second and third place votes that he is able to be on the podium, kind of, so to speak, because I definitely think that his season was an MVP caliber season, but it's a QB award, unfortunately. And I've been saying that for a while. I mean, McCaffrey has been, in my opinion, the real driver, the success that the 49ers have had, and a big reason why they're in the Super Bowl. I mean, he has proven that he is the most talented and versatile 100%. Running back. I still think that Chubb is the best runner of the ball before his injury. So we'll see how that all works out. But yeah, I think Lamar Jackson's most definitely going to win this. I think the next question is whether Brock Purdy is second or third, but he'll probably be on the podium. And I hope that Christian McCaffrey is also on there. If not, I do think that Josh Allen would be the third person. So if it's an all QB podium, it's Lamar Jackson, Purdy, and Allen. And if the voters do the right thing, it's Lamar Jackson, McCaffrey, and either Purdy or Allen, most likely Purdy.
Yeah, so my MVP before he got injured, believe it or not, was Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett was the engine of the Cleveland Browns. I think this is the year for a non-quarterback to win. I don't think any quarterback had, because Brock Purdy, what people say about him. I can't give an MVP to Lamar Jackson. It's 21 passing touchdowns. I mean, there's a reason why his offense coordinator didn't get interviewed for any head coaching jobs. It wasn't all that. It was just a lot of hype. And so I don't think Lamar Jackson's going to win it. Why? But I understand about his good regular season why people will vote for him. I get it. But if I had to pick somebody, it would have to be Christian McCaffrey, because like you said, he's the engine that's getting the 49ers, that has gotten the 49ers to, where they're at right now. I'm not saying Brock Purdy hasn't done anything, but I think this is the year a non-quarterback wins, just my personal opinion. And I wish Myles Garrett didn't get hurt, because I would definitely, support him and vote for him. But I think this is a Christian McCaffrey award, and I think he should win with his over 2,000 scrimmage yards and everything that he's done for the 49ers. I mean, ever since last season, I think this is the year he probably breaks through. I think Lamar finishes second, and I think Brock Purdy finishes third. I don't think Brock Purdy finishes in the top 2 at all.
So you think this is actually going to happen?
I do. I think this is the year for a non-quarterback to win. I do.
So I know you were supposed to take a shot today, but clearly you've already taken it. You've already taken it. If this is what you think.
I was about to run and go get me. Say, wait, hold on. Okay, hold on. I can still do one. I got it right there. I'm looking at it.
Hey, you know what? No one would be happier. I told you this before. I think McCaffrey should be the winner. So I hope you're right. I don't think there's a snowball's chance that
I got you.
they give it to a non-QB, and that's unfortunate. I just think it's an unfortunate reality.
Yeah, I got you. Yep.
You know, I wanted to ask you guys about this. So when I think about it, I think McCaffrey was the most important player on the Niners for sure.
Of course.
If he, without him, we saw when he went down, they lost point blank. Like there was no, everyone else could be there, they lost. I'm curious though to get you guys' point because from an MVP standpoint, I think of most valuable player in the league, right? So to me, I'm thinking you put this player on any team and it instantly increases wins. They instantly become a contender potentially, or at least playoff, right? I think Lamar you could put on half the league and they instantly raise a couple games at least. I know we were a couple
he's
games
better than
out.
half the quarterbacks in the league. Yeah,
We'd have been a playoff team. You know, a lot of teams right in the middle. The Steelers would have been right. Like there's so many teams, but I want like if you add McCaffrey to the Raiders, I don't know how many more wins we get. Does that make sense?
I do think you increase in wins. I do think you increase at least one or two, at least.
And I say that right. I'd agree. I just am thinking it's when you have an offense like the Niners. We'll get into this with the Super Bowl coverage that is so dynamic and diverse in all the receivers and all the impacts you can have all over the field. It does open some space for McCaffrey. You put him on my team,
right?
You flood the box because we can't throw. You know what I'm saying? So
it's like Carolina all over again. I get you.
Exactly. Now, and he was a beast in Carolina. Don't get me twisted. That's why he got that contract because he was balling in Carolina. But it's a little different when they know they got to go to you. So I wonder with Lamar, even though you know he's got to touch it, he still can run on you. Even if you're trying to stop him, he still can get there. He still can play. Purdy, I think, has kind of done that too. But again, I think Purdy is a victim of his own success because of the team he's on. No matter how you slice it, it's too many options. It's too many outlets. You put Baker Mayfield, you put Lamar Jackson on that team. We're not even, it's not even a debate. We're not even talking about the Chiefs possibly winning. You put one of them other tier QBs, and Brock is good. This isn't about Brock being bad.
He shouldn't win. He shouldn't win MVP,
right? You know what I mean? And he's been balling, like you said. He's led in statistical categories. My point is not that he's bad; it's that it's tough to gauge sometimes because of all the other talent. Whereas Lamar, we know, you got an OBJ who OBJ was tough and he had some catches, but it ain't OBJ from 2014. Zay Flowers is coming up. He's young. He's clearly still in his head, learning the game. He's not working with a whole lot. Josh Allen got Diggs, who's a baller sometimes no, baller or squaller. You know what I mean? You just don't know. So it's interesting in that. But McCaffrey was consistent all year. He couldn't be stopped.
Let me ask both of you this question though. I think the MVP award for the NFL should go through the playoffs. I don't think it should stop at regular season. That's just my personal opinion. I think they should include the playoff games before the Super Bowl.
To your point, if you're in the MVP, typically you're on a playoff team too.
Well, sure, but I get your point, and that's why the NBA has like a MVP for playoffs and all of that kind of stuff because like I would not want to see a Joe Flacco win because he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And if they changed it so that it was an MVP that wasn't a given that it's always going to be a quarterback, then maybe. But the reality of it is the reason to run it into the playoffs is because you want to see what players like Lamar Jackson do in the playoffs, what Josh Allen does in the playoffs.
Because I would think your MVP, if you're MVP, it would show in the biggest moments, right? That's my thinking.
Yeah,
but they limit it to
a regular season award, right? So
right.
And Super Bowl MVP isn't always a quarterback. It often is, but it could be someone else. We've seen defensive players, we've seen receivers, etc. So I was just kind of how I've been looking at from MVP standpoint. I think McCaffrey is a phenomenal talent, and I think that the Niners team does not do near as much as they do with him. That running game has been solid since Shanahan's there, but you add a dynamic player like McCaffrey, night and day. It's just
well the reason why he has that because he can catch out the backfield.
He's phenomenal, bro.
That adds to it.
We've
had runners, but as far as catching out the backfield, he's better. He's that chess piece. So exactly.
Like I said, Chubb is the best runner of a football before injury.
You ain't got no argument from me.
That guy is just an absolute stud when it comes to running the football. The thing that makes McCaffrey such a unique person is that he is outstanding in almost all aspects of the game. Even as a blocker in the backfield, he's pretty solid.
That offense is very well built. So okay, so let's slide to coach of the year, because I figure we'll spend a lot of time on the Super Bowl. So you have Mike Tomlin from the Steelers, you have DeMeco Ryans from the Houston Texans, you have Dan Campbell from the Detroit Lions, Kevin O'Connell from the Minnesota Vikings, Kevin Stefanski from the Cleveland Browns.
You said Mike Tomlin. He's in the coach of the year discussion.
I was saying, am I tripping? I'm on NFL.com.
All right, okay.
Wow, you want me to go first on this one?
Yeah, please, Brian, please.
I'm going to steal your thunder, because I bet you're thinking the same guy.
What is it?
It should be Kevin Stefanski. It should be Kevin Stefanski for the Browns.
That's not mine, but you're close. Go ahead.
And look, what that team has been able to do this year, with the ever-changing situation at quarterback, bringing in a guy who was basically retired, finding a way to turn that season around, bring him into the playoffs. I don't care what happened when they got there. Mm-hmm. The fact that they were in the playoffs is just remarkable. It's a remarkable job by a coach to be able to do that in the middle of the season, right? Every single thing, right? Chubb goes down.
Wait a minute.
Watson goes down. Like anything that could happen to take the wind out of their sails kind of fell apart. And so I have to give it to Kevin Stefanski. So the only other person, here it comes now, the only other person that even just really should draw any consideration after Stefanski is DeMeco Ryans. And that is because we all put them, that the Texans were dead last year. And we actually talked about how this was a bad opportunity, or not the best of opportunities for DeMeco Ryans to go to, because the team was kind of in shambles. They hadn't done anything, and he took that team to the playoffs. So it's a two-man race. The reason why I put Stefanski above Ryans, because I think both of them, if you could give co-awards or tie it or whatever like they do in the MVP, I would do it. But the reason why I put Stefanski is because he had to make huge changes to his team in the middle of the season. You know, Chubb came in and went out in the middle of the season. Watson went out middle of the season.
He had like 3 QBs.
Yeah, Flacco came back from the dead middle of the season, whereas Ryans was able to, in the preseason and everything, put something together that's more remarkable and work it through the entire season. Again, remarkable, taking nothing from him. But I think it's only a two-man race. All the rest of those folks. And I know people are going to say, Dan Campbell, because what he did for the Lions and all that, and he has been remarkable. But they've been growing for a little while. From a one-season perspective, what happened for the Browns was pretty outstanding. So, Jason.
I was wrong too. It was Dan Campbell, John Harbaugh, DeMeco Ryans, Kyle Shanahan, Kevin.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You can't have a guy.
And Shane Steichen or something like that from the Colts.
Yeah, you can't have a guy with a bottom 10 offense every year.
Yeah, I was looking at mid-year. So that's Dan Campbell, John Harbaugh, DeMeco Ryans, Kyle Shanahan, and Kevin Stefanski.
Okay, number 3 on my list, I had DeMeco Ryan. Obvious reasons. It's a bad division, but it's still Houston. And what he did there, especially with CJ Stroud, you can't take that away.
People out of division too.
Yeah. You can't take that away at all. So DeMeco, he was my leader in the clubhouse in the midseason, but now he's number 3. Number 2 is who Brian has, Kevin Stefanski. Can't say enough, Brian, about the job that he did. You pretty much laid it all out. 3 or 4 quarterbacks. He beat Baltimore, beat San Francisco, went 11-5, 12-5, 11-6, something like that. They lost to Houston, but look, you got what, 45-year-old Joe Flacco quarterback, and he just turned into the old Joe Flacco of old, but he got him to that point. So props to Kevin Stefanski. But now my number 1 guy is Brian. I know you said it's the Lions, but I think it's Dan Campbell, for the simple fact you put Detroit Lions and playoffs in the same sentence, or Detroit Lions and 1/2 away from the Super Bowl in the same sentence, which is what I was saying when it was 24-7 when they played the 49ers. It's different when people, we all didn't expect them to win. We all thought they would win, and they kind of did their thing. They beat KC. They beat some good teams. They had a stinker against Green Bay, but they came San Francisco, played San Francisco hard, should have won, almost won. What Dan Campbell has done with Detroit, is remarkable, but I don't think it's going to happen next season. I don't think they'll be as good next season. But as far as this season is concerned, I think he's going to be coach of the year because of Detroit. And everybody likes an underdog, and Detroit's been an underdog for 45, 50 years. So I think he's going to win it just for that little underdog label and mentality and one of those good for the league story type of things.
Cleveland Browns coach winning a player of the
year
is also
yeah. You're right.
But look, I totally get that Dan Campbell's a sexy pick right now because of how he's captured the hearts and minds of both fans and his players. But I just think that what was special about Stefanski was he did it all in the middle of the year.
Yeah, and if he won, I would have no argument. Not at all.
Or Ryans or DeMeco Ryans, like Dan Campbell, DeMeco Ryans, Kevin Stefanski.
Right.
It's nice. It's an interesting season when you have 3 huge Cinderella stories kind of with teams that nobody thought would make the playoffs, but they did. And then in a couple of these cases, they had to do some pretty miraculous things throughout the season.
All right, word. So that's that. Cool. Talk a little about the awards. Let's slide to it, man. It's the big game. This is the last game of the year. Coop, your team made it, man. Niners and Chiefs. This is for all of it. For all of it, man. Let's just dive in. There's no real we talking Super Bowl. I haven't really talked to you guys about it, honestly. We text a little bit. What are we thinking, man? I'm looking for the odds right now for the game.
It's down to -2. Well, we can talk about the betting
now.
We can talk about the betting preview. So it came out as 49ers -3 and went down to 49ers -1. Everybody and their mama was on the Chiefs. Now went back up to -2, and it's been like that for the last 3 days or so. So it looks like it's San Francisco -2. Point spread wise, Brian, what you thinking?
Chiefs, and I would. I'm glad to take the 1.5, but I think they win this game outright. Obviously, I don't think, or the 2 points. Obviously, I don't think that this is a game that they're going to lose by 1 point and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not hedging here. I think the Chiefs are going to win outright. So I would take. I'm taking the Chiefs. Give me the 1.5, 2 points, 3, whatever it is. I'll take that.
Well, not previewing it, not right now, but just as far as the point spread, look. This line came out as 49ers -3 points, knowing the 49ers run defense hasn't been good, knowing the 49ers have not played well in the playoffs, knowing they most likely shouldn't even be here. They should have lost either Green Bay or Detroit, knowing Kansas City has played well recently, went to Buffalo, went to Baltimore on the road, beat 2 good teams. And the 49ers played at home against a tough Green Bay and Detroit team, but, barely got it done. So knowing all of this and the hype around KC right now, which is deserved, the 49ers still opened up as a 3-point favorite. That will let me take the 4. I would definitely take the 49ers -2. Actually, I have taken the 49ers -2. But also just all these point spreads I've noticed that come out as -3 as the initial line. All those games haven't been close. The last one was the Chiefs against Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay ran them out. I remember the Raiders were -3 against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay ran them out. Broncos was -3 against Seattle. Seattle ran them out. Packers against the Steelers. Packers, they only won by 6, but Steelers scored a couple late touchdowns or whatever to make that a little closer than it was. Baltimore, Ray Lewis and them was -3 against Giants, ran them out. And then the last one was the Broncos was -3 against the Washington Redskins back in the 90s. Washington just ran them out. These games are never close. So I expect this to be a 2-score game, whether 49ers win or whether the Chiefs win. I don't expect it to be that close because all these -3 initial point spreads in the Super Bowl, these games are never close. So we'll get into, why we like who we like, but that I noticed that. So, we'll see.
Well, let's go to that now because my thought process was as I was looking at how much money's being bet and all the players that are out there and all that, it's adjacent to the Super Bowl, but not the Super Bowl coverage. So starting kind of with the game at Allegiant Stadium, shout out to you, Coop. I can't even say nothing. Niners play a playoff game in the Raiders Stadium before we do. That's outlandish. Chiefs too. I heard a quote today, which was funny. He said the best thing about the game is somebody got to lose. But I mean, at this point, what are you thinking, Coop? I mean, we know who you got to win it. I know what your betting might say, but there's no way you're gonna say your team's gonna lose the game. So, kind of, what's the keys to the Niners winning?
So I'll start with the 49ers that you brought up. So the 49ers, can they stop the run? That's number one. And then can they run? Now, I think they should be able to run. Say, well, why you think? Because the 49ers run a zone running offense. They're number 1 in yards per carry in the NFL in zone running. The Chiefs are second to last in yards per carry allowed when facing zone running teams. That's the way the Chiefs have lost games. They have lost games against zone running teams because they just, for whatever reason, they can't stop it. 49ers do have a problem, though, and that would be Travis Kelce. 49ers cannot guard Kelce one-on-one, so I'm interested to see how they play him.
No, nobody has. Except the Raiders on Christmas. Go ahead.
Real talk. When Mahomes is on the move, he usually looks for Kelsey. So when Mahomes moves, they have to have a body or somebody in front. I don't know how they're going to do it. I know the 49ers play a lot of zone coverage. They're going to have somebody on Kelsey as a man or something, mix it up, because Kelsey will kill us. We don't have anybody that can guard him. The 49ers, Purdy's going to have to do those. He was very successful this season during not the playoffs, but the regular season, making those quick game throws. He did it with a lot more regularity in the regular season. He's going to have to do that in the playoffs. He hasn't been as proficient in the playoffs, so he's definitely going to have to do that. For KC, for some reason, Baltimore would not. So KC aligned defensively with 5-man fronts to stop the run, and Baltimore just didn't even want to stop it. Didn't even want to try it. They just decided to pass all game. I expect the same look against the 49ers, trying to stop their run game with 5-man fronts. But I think the difference is the 49ers will still run. They're still going to run this game.
You got to.
KC used their quick game against the Ravens last week. Quick passing game. Same thing they did against the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So I expect them to do the same thing against the 49ers to try to keep the pass rush away from Mahomes, because their tackles aren't really that good. And I don't know if you heard Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa was already trying to do a Phil Jackson thing when they asked him about how their tackles are. He said, they hold a lot, because everybody, kind of remembers that 3rd and long where he got hella hell, but it wasn't called. And then they ended up completing that pass, Tyreek Hill. Not the reason the 49ers lost the game. They lost, but, he's just trying to do that. Phil Jackson was known for doing that before playing the series, calling out what the other team's star player does or whatever. So that was interesting. I'm going to stop there. I know we're going to talk a little bit more about it. B, I want to let you, what do you think their keys? Oh, wait, I didn't even actually get to the Chiefs' keys.
No, let's do it this way. B, you do. What do you think the Niners' keys to victory are? How did the Niners win this game?
McCaffrey. Right. And so what they need to do is find a way to establish McCaffrey early, because one of the biggest mistakes that they've made in their last 2 games where they fell behind early is that they weren't able to get him established. The moment they were, which is usually at the end of the second quarter, right before halftime, he would break out and kind of find a way to scamper or score. And then they would establish that for the second half and set the tone. The minute they do that, it opens up the offense for everybody else, because McCaffrey is such a dynamic talent that you have to account for him with 1, 2, 3, 5 guys if it takes to slow him down. And once you're doing that, all these other great players, these are all very, very good players, are able to get one-on-one coverage and able to make plays on their own. If you don't establish McCaffrey early, or you let him lay dormant like he did the first 2 times, they're going to get themselves in a hole again. And I think that we've gotten to the point where we're no longer playing Detroit's and Green Bay's that were kind of tweener teams that made the playoffs. Sure. We're playing an established Kansas City Chiefs team that's been there, that's done that, that's won this game, that is not going to be afraid of the moment, and they're not going to choke in the 3rd and 4th quarter like Green Bay and Detroit did, right? So I think the key is to make sure that they don't get behind early, and the way to do that is start using McCaffrey. If it doesn't work and you're running him in and he's only getting 2 yards a carry, keep doing it. Because at some point in time, they're going to start focusing so much on the idea that McCaffrey's going to get open or get break loose, that they're going to start putting all the guys in, and then you're going to be able to take them apart going down the field and making plays to the middle of the field and mid-range passes, right? Which is kind of how you start to get loose. So McCaffrey if McCaffrey doesn't score a touchdown, I think he will. If McCaffrey doesn't catch 10 passes, I think he probably will have a few pass receptions here. And if he's not able to score a touchdown, he could still be the most impactful player, because everything keys off whether or not he's able to take the focus and take the attention on him. Also, Purdy needs it that way, right? We were talking about earlier that, Purdy, when McCaffrey's not there and he's not the focus and it's all on his back, Purdy doesn't have his best games. So even if McCaffrey's not effective, which is a weird way to phrase it, Purdy operates so much better when the focus and the attention of the defense is on letting Purdy throw the ball to make sure that they slow down McCaffrey. So McCaffrey. If they make that happen, I think they could do well. If they fall behind again early, you can put the tombstone on them at halftime. They are not going to be able to come back against an established Kansas City Chiefs team, minus an injury or something crazy like that, because these guys, this is what they do.
Yeah. GB, yeah. You've been doing this podcast, for a while with us. One thing I've always said, or for the last few years at least, defense doesn't win championships in the NFL no more. It's all about offense. That's who's been winning. Just look at the offensive guys of all the winners for the past few years. I mean, they've been doing it. The 49ers, if they lose this Super Bowl, I think it'll be devastating. They have the better offensive players in this game, and they've had better players since the last
More
time.
skilled.
Yeah, but they had before last time went Super Bowl. Brandon Ayuk is better than Emmanuel Sanders. The rookie Debo is not as good as Debo now. Kittle then is better than Kittle now.
Yeah.
Juwan Jennings, third receiver, is better than Bourne, the third receiver. And
Yeah.
hopefully, and of course Christian
Bosa's
McCaffrey.
a veteran. Warner's a veteran. Yeah, it's a big deal.
Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, they're better than Mozart and Tevin Coleman was back. So hopefully they've learned from their mistakes, and that includes Kyle Shanahan. There's really no excuses. I mean, they got everything right there. This is the weakest
100%.
that Kansas City is going to be, and probably for a long
100%.
time. They might get Mike Evans next year and then retool their team. So it's like if Buffalo and Baltimore can't beat KC now, including San Francisco can't beat KC now, then when do you beat them? Because they're not going to be like this forever. I mean, they're going to make some changes, and people are going to want to play with Mahomes. So the offense, I think, is better. Right? Yeah.
You can restructure that contract a little bit. So go ahead.
You could, but so I'm going with the team with the offensive playmakers, man, because I mean, at the end of the game last time we played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, offensive playmaker was the difference in the Super Bowl. That was Tyreek Hill. So I just think the 49ers have the better offensive players, and eventually they're going to break out and do something against this defense.
Okay, and then flip sides now. So B, you start with the Chiefs. Right. I mean, it's the Chiefs, so we've seen it. They won the Super Bowl last year. We all watched it together.
Yep.
And they have Taylor Swift at starting quarterback too. So,
what do you think for
the
key is to let the game come to them. They have the advantage of even these guys who are not their best performers have been there before. This is not a big this is not a moment that's bigger than them. All of these skilled players, these really, really wonderful skilled players that the 49ers have, this is really their first time there. Like McCaffrey hasn't had any experience in the playoffs like this. Purdy hasn't really had that much experience like this. This is a big moment for a lot of their players.
Yeah.
The Chiefs, on the other hand, they're not more skilled than the 49ers, but they know how to use the players that they have. But what I mean by that is, given the fact that, hold on, let me pull up the stats. Given the fact that their best, McCaffrey's got 1,459 yards, and the best running back the Chiefs has is 935. The best wide receiver that the 49ers have is Ayuk at 1,342 yards. The best one that the Chiefs has is their tight end at 984 yards. But given that, there's still only a 100-yard difference in passing yards between Purdy and Mahomes, and there's only a 20-yard per game offense between the two teams. That's because the Chiefs just find ways to make these things happen. They dink, they dunk, they go long when the opportunity presents it, and the game just is a little bit slower for them. And so the main reason that I took the Chiefs is not because I don't think that the 49ers are more talented. It's just because sometimes in big moments, it takes a moment for that game to slow down. Whereas I think the Chiefs are going to go out there and it's going to be not in slow motion, but it's going to be at normal speed. Whereas for the 49ers, that first quarter is going to go by in a heartbeat. And if they can't seize the moment and they fall behind even a little bit, the Chiefs just know, and Andy Reid just know how to win this football game. And I ultimately think that that's why, in my opinion, they have the edge here. I don't think that in the end of at the end of this game, they will not say a more talented Chiefs team beat a subpar 49ers team. They will say Mahomes did Mahomes things, Reid did Reid things. Kelsey made a big play or found a way or whatever whoever the player is going to be, and it's going to be something where it's not spectacular, it's just consistent, methodical. And that's what the Chiefs need to be. They need to be consistent. They need to be methodical. They need to find a way to not overcommit to stopping McCaffrey, but still impact his ability to make big plays. And so, if you can focus no more than two guys on holding down McCaffrey, linebacker spy, and then, tell the lineman to fill the gaps that he's trying to focus on, then you can methodically chip away at their ability to make big plays while giving yourself the opportunity to make consistent plays and move the ball down the field.
Nice.
Yeah.
Coop, what do you think?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier about the KC using their quick game. They definitely have to use that against the 49ers to prevent, their tackles again from being exposed. But they also need to establish Pacheco. The reason why Andy Reid is running Pacheco a lot more than he's ever ran in previous seasons, because Andy Reid likes to pass, is because they have to. And Pacheco, he's producing as well. They don't have those guys on the outsides like they're used to having, or those established receivers. I mean, they led the league in drops, so you got to run the ball if your receivers keep dropping the ball. So I think they have to establish Pacheco early against the 49ers and test that run defense, because the 49ers run defense just hasn't been good. And so you got to test it, and you can use Pacheco. And if you give Mahomes a run game, I mean, you could be dead in the water. Also, they have to stop the run. Now, like you mentioned, just don't make Christian McCaffrey too effective in the game. They're going to have to find ways to defend that zone running offense. Also on offense, I think KC needs to get the ball to Kelsey, because the 49ers don't have anyone to guard him. I don't necessarily trust KC's wide receivers. And the reason why is, yes, it's a Super Bowl. A couple of them played in the game last year, but the 49ers defense hits pretty hard. And let's just say, they get hit hard once. They might not be so eager to go across the middle or catch the ball or whatever, because that does sometimes happen to wide receivers. Not saying it will, but I think it's just something to look at, how they react against, the 49ers physical defense. So I would definitely establish Kelsey and have to have it as the Mahomes Kelsey show. I would have to use Kelsey as a chess piece. I think if the Chiefs win, I believe that either Mahomes or Kelsey will be the MVP of the game. And I expect Kelsey to have at least maybe 8 or 9 catches if the KC was to win, because, like I said, 49ers don't have anybody to stop him. And they have to establish Pacheco, because this KC offense is not dynamic. It doesn't sound like much, but this is what KC's been doing in the playoffs. Their run defense is going to be tested, because Buffalo can't run the ball and Baltimore didn't run the ball. So they would have to go 4 quarters against the 49ers running, trying to stop the run, because, Shanahan's not going to give it up. And so I don't know if that's going to hurt them, because they haven't really had to defend the run the last couple of games, but, we'll see. We'll see what I wouldn't be surprised. Yes, I'm taking the 49ers to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs won. And if the Chiefs do win, Mahomes pulled something. Yeah, Mahomes pulled something, out of his what, or Andy Reid, both of them, and then they end up getting it done. But I will say this, Brian, the 49ers need this a whole lot, and Shanahan needs this a whole lot more than Mahomes and Andy Reid. Right now, they're just piling on championships now. The 49ers are trying to win one, and Kyle is trying to get that monkey off his back. But
let me ask you this question. Outside of the coach, who I know understands what he needs and what he doesn't need, do the players who are earlier in their career, younger, and at the beginning of their ascent into superstardom, like Ayuk and all that, do they get it? Or do they think this is the first of several opportunities, just like the Chiefs? The Chiefs have been going there for 6. We're the new dynasty. I worry that they might have that not complacency, but that frame of mind.
I got an answer for that, and here's my answer. I believe they understand it, because here's why. They're all talking about winning one for Trent Williams. I've heard a few of them say that. Trent Williams only has maybe another year, maybe at the most 2. And we all know the 49ers offensive line, remember, Williams was out there, was out too, and they was losing games. They were getting trounced. That offensive line is not even that good. But with Trent Williams, just makes him just a tiny bit better. Without him, it's over. So I think they want to take advantage of this Trent Williams run that they've had as the best offensive tackle in the NFL, because he's getting up there, and he's not going to, get better. He's only going to get worse, and he's probably retire soon.
The other thing is, and pretty much every one of them rooms, in your tight end room and your wide receiver room, you have a guy who was on that team.
Yeah.
Fred Warner was there. So they're going to be like, look, it took us 4 to get back here. It ain't no guarantee. So y'all better ball out. I don't know if it's going to be, I think you guys have the much better team, and the Niners do, but there's a lot to be said about experience. I was going to ask you guys now, because as you're at media day, right? So, and I've changed my tune about this whole Super Bowl being in Vegas and the impact on. I actually think it's a good impact for the Raiders, but I'll talk about that later. But as you're at media day, Brock Purdy's been a star and people been on him, but this is different. This is way different. You got media day. You got you're practicing out. They're talking about the UNLV field already. Compared, the Chiefs are practicing in the Raiders' state-of-the-art brand new facility. That's minor stuff, but it's different. You're not practicing it at home. Your walkthroughs are different. You're not sleeping at home. Purdy's, it's his first Super Bowl. He's 2 years in the league. you played in big games. You ain't played no game this big. And this is
Yeah.
4 for Mahomes. This is, however many, 5
Yeah.
for
It's business
Reed.
as usual.
It's, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not, we're gonna get some sleep. We're gonna go to the game. Like Niner players, it's a little different. So I'm curious as to, do you think that has any impact on a young QB and some young players?
Well, it could, but it's the Dan Marino effect. Like I said, Dan Marino made it his second year in the NFL and then never got back. And he played
Sure.
17 seasons in the NFL. So I believe that Brock Purdy, because remember, he's a person who still wants to get paid. He's going to want to get paid in a couple of years. So I think he knows he's going to have to perform. But I'm interested to hear what Brian will say about this, though, because you make a good point, Glenn.
I'm curious if you think there's an impact. And there's young players on the Chiefs too, but
Right.
it's different when Mahomes is handing you the ball and saying,
Yeah.
don't mess up.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jason. I get it. I get the whole longevity. Longevity does not guarantee a few of the opportunities to go back. But
Sure.
I don't know if the modern athlete has the ability to process things in that way.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the three of us are old. I hate to think about it, but we're old. We think about it and we think things through, and we have a methodology, and we're able to have a vision of how time changes the situation. And I just think that a lot of young guys, young sports athletes in general, don't have that perspective. And they say, well, we're going to win one for the Gipper and all that kind of stuff. Win one for Trent. And they mean it. It's not that they don't mean it.
Right.
It's just that they don't know what meaning it means just yet.
Yeah.
It's different when them lights flash. It's different when them celebs is in there. It's different when that noise going to be different.
Yeah, they're going to be looking in the stands and looking for chicks. They're going to be like, there's just a lot of things that happen.
Halftime shows longer, performances, like it's a little different.
And we talk about this more. I think NBA players do a better job of having this conversation about the impact of the moment than NFL players do. Like you always see Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett talking about the impacts of moments, and Gil and Tracy McGrady. All these people have been on podcasts or done shows or whatever, and they talk about the effects of the moment. So there's a better conversation around that. But what all of them seem to say thematically is that early in your career, even if you think you get it, you don't. Even Kobe said, I thought I understood it.
Yeah.
And I thought the moment didn't impact me, and then I airballed 3 times and cost us the game in the series, right?
Well, and those basketball players get another shot at it sometimes. Like for these Niners, man, you get down 21 in the Super Bowl, you're deflated.
Right.
It is statistically harder to make. The hardest sport to make the playoffs is the World Series. Yeah. Next is football. And then, from American sports, I don't know what soccer would play in there.
Wonder why World Series? Because so many games?
Yeah.
No, because so few teams make the playoffs. Then you have almost a full season. It's long series.
Got it. Also those games and everything. Yeah.
Got it. Sorry,
NFL I gotta say this, Glenn. You said last podcast, and I'm getting to a Super Bowl prop bet because of this. You said last podcast that Jimmy G and Brock Purdy had similar stats in the regular season.
Sure.
And you were right. They are similar.
It was close.
But it got
Brock
me
played better.
100%. Yeah, but it was close enough. I get it. So it got me doing some research, and I looked at both of those guys' playoff stats, not including the Super Bowl because Brock hasn't played. So you go Jimmy's 5 games, no Super Bowl, 60 out of 101, 59%. 743 yards. That's 149 yards per game. That's so bad. 3 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. That's Jimmy. Brock in the playoffs. 4 games, 80 out of 129, 62%, 1,065 yards, which is 266 yards per game, 5 touchdowns and 1 interception. And I'm saying this because I have a Super Bowl prop bet that I bet. The prop right now is Brock Purdy over or under 245 yards and a half passing. I bet the under. I don't think Brock Purdy is going to be turning it loose like that in the Super Bowl. There will be times that he'll pass the ball, but I think it'll be more in the short passing game and handing the ball off to Christian McCaffrey.
That's a good bet.
But you guys are yak champions. I mean, he gets yardage whether he catch it 3 yards or catch it 30 yards.
Yeah, I think they will take a shot maybe a quarter down the field, but I don't think it'll be all like that because Brian is over under for longest pass completion is 37.5 yards. It's not that much.
Is that 8 yards in air or yards total?
No, just total. Yeah, 37.
Because I can absolutely see, and this will be a great way to break your heart, but I can absolutely see McCaffrey getting a screen pass instead of a handoff and running it for a 35-yard touchdown, 37. Like you wouldn't be upset, but it's the kind of thing that busts a prop bet. Because of the way they use McCaffrey, which is a handoff, a toss, or a screen pass are all done interchangeably. I think.
If I had to guess, I'm thinking Purdy has 220 yards passing. If I had to guess.
Yeah, and I could see them still winning like that. And for anyone who doesn't know, a prop bet is, they have bets that are associated with certain activities that can occur in the game. So who's going to score the first touchdown? Which team will have the first field goal? In this case, how much will Brock Purdy pass for? And I can see that because as much as Niner fans and people in Washington have reveled at the 300-yard games, that's not the typical. That 250 range, 2 TDs, 250, 1 touchdown, let McCaffrey go. You can win like that. So that's actually, in my opinion, a pretty good bet.
I got that. X factors. We got to talk about X factors in the game. Brian, on both sides. Who you got the
over under too? Yeah. So
I mean, I already said.
I think we said it. Yeah.
For the 49ers, like it's the only part of the equation is McCaffrey. If you want to add another one. I think if Ayuk could make a big play with another reason to bust, it would really be helpful to loosening things up. And if he can find a way to do that, which he's plenty talented and able to do, and he's a great deep pass receiver, that would be a big X factor moment. But the real X factor here is just McCaffrey. What do you got?
Sure. To me, my X factor for 49ers would be Deebo Samuel. He's going to be used in that zone running game, and he should be. Those end arounds and zone running. I expect Deebo to have at least 8 to 12 touches in this game and see if those DBs want to actually tackle him. If he breaks one loose, I mean, we'll see what happens. Usually guys don't want to tackle him once he gets to running. So I definitely think Deebo's going to play a big part in the Super Bowl. Big part.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, he can, if Deebo gets a touchdown or two, I think y'all win.
Yeah. Well, when Deebo plays well, the 49ers win. When he plays well. So,
and how I've seen it is he's kind of like an additional, right? Like, cause that means McCaffrey, that means you got Ayuk. When Deebo's getting some scores, it gets busy. So okay. And then B, you mentioned the over under.
Well, we do want to do Kansas City.
Do Kansas City X factor real quick. Yep.
Yeah. So for me, it'll be the wide receivers, but if I'm going to pick one, I'm going to pick Raji Rice. They need one of those wide receivers, Tony, Watson, or Rice, to be the X factor, get some catches, so that they can take some pressure off of Kelsey and let Kelsey operate.
They ain't about to let Tony.
If none of those guys are catching and they're dropping stuff like they've done throughout the season, it's going to make it a hell of a lot harder for Mahomes to do anything with Kelsey or anybody else. So they need Rashee Rice and the other wide receivers to do something.
Cool. Sure. X factor for Kansas City is Chris Jones. Chris Jones wrecked the right side of the 49ers offensive line in the Super Bowl. He wrecked it in the fourth quarter. And we have one of the worst right tackles in football. My third or fourth worst right tackle in football trying to block him. I don't know the plan to block him, but the passing game will not happen if he doesn't get blocked. So I can see Chris Jones win the MVP if he has two or three sacks in this game, which I can definitely see happening. So Chris Jones will be the X factor.
And you can you ain't got to even get to the quarterback to disrupt the whole scheme.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Just shake him, especially a young QB in a big game.
Yep.
Word. All right, B. So go ahead. The over under. What do we got there?
No, I'm just curious, Jason. We talked about the spread, but we didn't talk about what you like from the over under. So over under, what is it? 47.5.
Yeah, I'm not betting the over under, but if I had to, I would take the under. 47.5. I just think both these teams are going to try to establish the run, and both teams are going to be ready for it. It's just who breaks through. I can see a 3-0 first quarter in this game, and it would not shock me at all. But it also wouldn't shock me if it was 7-0 or maybe even 7-3 if both teams score in their first possession. But if I had to bet, I'm taking the under 47.5. I think it works better for the Chiefs if these games are low scoring, so then the offense won't have to do so much. I don't think they want to get into a shootout with the 49ers because 49ers just have more playmakers and more horses. So. But I also think Kyle Shanahan, just his history, the way he is, he coaches. Sometimes I wouldn't say scared or tense, but he coaches like
very conservative in the big games, my boy.
Yes, he coaches conservative, and I expect him to start this game, come out conservatively. So I would take the under 47.5. What about you?
I'm definitely in the under. I think that's one of the keys for the Kansas City Chiefs to be able to win this game is for it not to be high scoring, because they need the Chiefs need it to be a methodical game where they have long drives and take time away from and keep McCaffrey off the field, because one of the best ways to defend him is to make sure he's not on the field. And what I mean by that is to have long drives and not have them get time of possession. So anyways, I absolutely on the under on this one. I'm not betting it, as I'm not probably betting any of this stuff, but if I, in my pick, I got to do a pick 'em. My pick 'em will definitely be Chiefs in the under.
And for anybody, so over under means, that number, that 47.5, you're betting that it's going to be under that total points scored or over that total points scored. And we mentioned these things, some of these terms, because everybody doesn't bet. A lot of us don't. But I also was kind of, as we're getting close to the end of our show for today. So just want to kind of get your guys' quick thoughts. I've been seeing maybe 23 billion, I think we saw, will probably be bet on this game.
Yeah.
It's in Las Vegas with the sports books. Extremely easy to place a bet on this game, probably the easiest it's ever been for anyone who's attending, right? If you went to Miami, if you went to LA, you can't put a bet on the game. You can, but you got to know a guy who know a guy. Whereas now you can walk right into the casino you're staying at and place a prop bet, place your bet. So just you guys
got to walk
thoughts,
through Mandalay to get there. So
right, your guys' overall thoughts on it, and then also there's players that are there that can be in the casino but can't promote the casino, that can bet but you can't bet on the, you know what I mean? You're putting you're putting everybody there. So all the NFL, basketball, everybody's there. So kind of what do you guys, just your overall thoughts on impact?
Well, real quick, I don't think players should be able to bet. So I think that's a good thing. You don't want to have that precedent of, fixed games or whatever. You don't want to do that. So I'm okay with that. As far as the money being bet on the game, it doesn't surprise me. They said this will be the most bet Super Bowl ever. And the reason why is because of the narratives coming in. You either on Purdy's side or you don't really like them like that. Or you think the Chiefs are just who they are. They just get things done. Or you think this is their reign is over. You got people who really dislike the Chiefs. And you got people who really like the Chiefs because of Mahomes. On the flip side, you got the same thing. You got people who really like the 49ers, what they're doing, and Brock Purdy. You got people who don't. So it doesn't surprise me that people want to put their money down to prove that their opinion on who they like or don't like is correct. So that record-setting number doesn't surprise me at all. What about you, B?
Yeah, well, we haven't talked about it much, but there's a real simple reason why this is going to be more watched than any other Super Bowl and more betting and just more attention. And that's actually Taylor Swift. It has opened up an entirely new market of people who are going 100%. To be interested in it. I'm throwing a Super Bowl party at my house that I didn't even invite people to or know that I was having.
That's a first.
Anyways, and the reality of it is that there's just another part of the Venn diagram that overlaps because of Swifties and Taylor Swift. And so it's not a surprise. I don't think it's problematic. I think it's great for the casinos who are going to be taking the bets. I think it's great for the NFL who is going to benefit from this.
Great for dads who get to watch football with their little girls. All of that.
100%. I can guarantee you that my oldest daughter will be and my wife will be paying attention to the game and probably louder than I'll be.
And they have not in the past because I've been there. Exactly right. Real quick, like I've heard this in the Taylor Swift thing. It's not a Taylor Swift thing. Taylor Swift, I heard some of the songs. She's cool. Congrats on the career. It has nothing to do with that. For me, it was the idea of using this specifically to garner attention, specifically push down our I don't want to say push down our throat because I don't like that phrase, but just consistently showing her to try and pump their ratings. Like you're using it to your advantage. It wasn't organically done.
Well, Glenn, there's an over under on how many times they show her doing the telecast.
There you go.
I didn't look it up, but it's a prop bet out there. How many times they show her?
Yeah, so, I know her flight path. I know this.
I don't know what it is, but I'm taking the overs.
Yeah, 100%. Now, this is a game with a lot of celebrities, right? And I was thinking about like Laker games, right? We've been since when Dr. Buss bought the Lakers, he wanted celebs there. Showing the celebs at the Laker game has been a thing forever. However, you show them all one time at the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
and you may interview one, but it's not here's Denzel again, and that's
that's because it's become the norm for Laker games, and it's not,
and definitely not Kansas City.
Right. It's not definitely not Buffalo. They don't do that for Denver games. They don't do that for most football games.
LA.
Anyways, it's LA.
So I just was getting your guys' thoughts on that. I'm curious to see how the game turns out because the end of it, like the recap next week, is going to be fun either way. I mean,
Man, yeah.
it's an interesting conversation either way, right? Either Coop and your team has done it, y'all have 6, you tied for the most championships, or
we're becoming the Buffalo Bills. Just go there and start losing every time. You know what I'm saying?
Bills did it
So,
4 times in a row, though. Or the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already looking at a dynasty anyway. You can't go to 6 AFC championship games in a
Right.
row and 4 Super Bowls and not be there. But he's getting on pace to win a bunch, so we're gonna see.
Yep.
I don't so it's curious. So last couple
Yeah.
segments, unless you guys have any last things, man. This is your last show before the Super Bowl.
We can go to Hogwash. Yeah.
Hogwash, man. End of the show. Brian's segment, he said something one day was a bunch of hogwash, and we all laughed and we made it a segment. So
Brian,
I'll go for it.
Yeah. Start it off, B.
So you guys may or may not have heard about this story, but it was kind of a big deal last week as you had to. There's a deadline that had to be met if you wanted to be able to qualify for health benefits and other retirement benefits. But Tony Snell needed to be signed by last Friday in order to be eligible for healthcare benefits and retirement benefits because he needed to get to that 10-year mark. It's hogwash that none of these teams stepped up and signed this guy to a minimum deal where they're literally got the back end of their bench. They already know that they're not trying to win anything. They already know that they're not trying to do anything. And a lot of the celebrities came out. Barkley made a big deal of it on a TBS broadcast I read somewhere. A bunch of other athletes were talking about how this should happen. Someone should sign Tony Snell. And ultimately, the time came and went, and he wasn't made eligible for healthcare benefits. But to compound the problem is that the number is 10.
Absolutely.
The average NBA career is 3.5 years. And so you need to go more than 3x the average career to be eligible for retirement benefits and healthcare after athletes who do nothing but put their body at risk to perform, to do all of these things, are eligible for healthcare and retirement benefits. It's absolute hogwash that the NBA hasn't fixed this. That number should probably be closer to 6 or 7. It's unfortunate that the league didn't find a way to do right by someone that there was a groundswell of support for, kind of a journeyman like Tony Snell, who apparently was well liked. And I don't know Tony Snell at all, but I just think that it just brought up the subject of why there's a problem there.
Definitely. Well said. Coop.
Yeah. My hogwash is the Baltimore Ravens. A lot of hype every year. End of the season, the playoffs, womp, womp, womp. People talk about, Lamar's MVP even 5 years ago, how well he does in the regular season, which he does. But in the end, Lamar Jackson's James Harden. Baltimore is the Philadelphia 76ers of the NFL. A lot of hype every year. They never get it done in the playoffs. And at some point, somebody has to start asking questions. When will this team get it done? Because it seemed like this was the year. They had it on offense. They had it on defense. But still, for some reason, I don't know, they just couldn't get it done against Kansas City at home. And they should be in this Super Bowl. I truly believe they should be in the Super Bowl. But that one bad game against KC kind of did them in. So they're my hogwash 7. I'm tired of people hyping them up. I need to wait till they actually do something before you hype them up. I don't care about the regular season. They're
losing coaches to his brother's team, to the Chargers.
Man,
I don't actually have one. So we'll go to the last one, minute to win it. I'm gonna go first on this one, and real quick, this is a good time to use it. I have changed my tune on this Super Bowl in Las Vegas. The main hating point I have, which I still, is the teams involved, right? Niner fans be on my head constantly, understandably, right? Chiefs obviously rival, both in our building, the Raiders Stadium, right? Not I don't own nothing, but except one brick outside that mom bought. The Chiefs are in the Raiders practice facility. Everyone's gonna be in the stadium, everyone's in Vegas. And at first I was kind of like, man, this is terrible. You're watching these rivals. And I started thinking about the economic impacts, the promotion for the Raiders, some free agents I can almost guarantee are gonna be in that building and be like, man, it's kind of nice over here. So we may get some players. I think it's a great motivation for players and coaches on the Raiders, because you're going to be around all this hoopla and you're not involved, and your main rival right there, you're seeing him every day. that they're right there in your face. So I'm hoping that this is having everybody get to work and it's a major impact for a positive impact. I don't know if it's gonna be major for the Raiders. So it's cool. Shout out to all my homies that are in Vegas. I know a lot of the Niner homies gonna be out there just hanging out. It's gonna be real red out there. So everybody stay safe. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's a good one. My man Dwayne, just thank everybody for watching. I'm gonna let Brian close this one out.
You got it.
If anyone's looking for a good comedy, all you have to do is look towards the GOP. So as of a few moments ago, while this show was going on, the primary in Nevada was just concluding, where Trump was not allowed on the ballot due to a previous Supreme Court of the state vote. But none of these candidates has won the primary with 61.8% of the votes instead of Nikki Haley at 31.6%. It is unthinkable to think that people who are actually running lost to everybody else who's not. Add that to they botched an impeachment vote recently, and their boy Tucker is out in Russia doing an interview of Putin right now, already looking like he's carrying his jockstrap. It's just gotten comical. But I just think the idea, if you guys have ever seen, what was it, Richard Pryor's Brewster's Millions, they literally just lost to none of the above.
Yeah.
like we have a real life Brewster's Million moment. None of the above has won in Nevada for the GOP primary. It also tells me what we needed to know about Nikki Haley as a candidate. So she will always kind of have a group of people who are willing to vote for her over, Trump and others, but she'll never be able to get the groundswell she needs to actually win in a general. If 61% of the population would vote for nobody over her when given the option, it's very clear that she wouldn't be able to win a general. And that's maybe unfortunate, maybe not, for depending on how people think and what they think about it. But it's just interesting to watch. It's comical.
All right.
Brewster's Millions. Man,
Yeah,
you took it
that's
back.
a reference, right?
Movie.
I told you we were old, man.
Well, that's our show. It's February 6th, 2024 Sports Counterpoints podcast. Y'all enjoy the Super Bowl. We'll catch you next time. Peace.